You're live. You're up and running.
Okay, great. Thank you all for taking time out of your Saturday for this Charter Review Committee meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9 o'clock and take roll. So Michael Brault.
Here.
Bradford Inman. Dorothy Jackboni.
Here.
Michael New. Claire Murray.
Here.
Norma Smith.
Here.
Sandra Restall.
Here.
And Richard Williams.
Yeah.
All right, we have a quorum. So does everyone have their meeting minutes from July 7th?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
All right, did anyone see any issues with the meeting minutes? All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from July 7th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from July 7th.
Thanks, Claire. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I won't do a roll call. And those minutes are approved unanimously. Going back, I believe, did she mean June 30th minutes?
Yes, Madam Chair, I think that is a typo.
Yeah.
Just so everybody is aware, there was a little bit of a technical error with the June 25th meeting minutes, and I'm working with Bianca Kane on getting those done. So those are actually not ready yet. I think you can skip 4.2. We'll have those ready for the next meeting.
But we still have to do the June 30th minutes. Can we do those?
We can't do those because they're not on the agenda. So.
Okay. I wasn't sure if we could call it a typo and move on. So we'll skip 4.2. And we'll get right into it. So the first item is requirement to read all motions into the record before a vote. So I believe this is part of 14.3. Am I correct, Dave?
Yes, it's actually part of 14.3 and also 3.15.
Yeah.
So what I did was, based on the guidance from the last meeting, there's if we can look at 3.15 first, that was circulated yesterday. What I did was I added a paragraph prior to the vote on any motion. The motion shall be read and repeated by either the town clerk or the town solicitor or a designee before a vote is taken thereon to ensure clarity in the proposed action. The reason I put clerk, solicitor, or a designee is that obviously council meetings, the town clerk is there. But when we get to discussing this for boards and commissions, some commissions have a clerk, some commissions have a solicitor, other commissions may just have like a vice chair or something like that, or a staff member from the a paid town employee staffing it. So that's why I use the word designee.
That seems logical. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that?
Oh, that's good.
All right, great. And it's the exact reading, right, in 14.
Correct. It's that exact language is copied under 14.30, which has to do with boards and commissions.
Okay. So do we have any discussion on this before we choose to take a vote? Does anyone have any feedback? All right, so Dave, if you want, just to start us off with a bang, if you want to read it before we take a vote.
Absolutely, be glad to. So the motion would be a motion to approve the following language to be included in section 3.15 under town council. and the identical language to be included under section 14.30 pertaining to boards and commissions as follows. Prior to the vote on any motion, the motion shall be read and repeated by either the town clerk or the town solicitor or a designee before a vote is taken thereon to ensure clarity in the proposed action.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, Dorothy, thank you. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second.
All right, Sandra, thank you. And I'm going to do a roll call because this is concerning the charter. And I'll just do it in the order I see people on my screen. Norma Smith?
Yes, approve.
I approve. Mike Brault?
Approve.
Richard Williams?
Yes.
And Claire Murray? You're muted, Claire.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Okay, so this passed unanimously.
You didn't say my name?
I did.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you know, I
Oh,
didn't say you or Dorothy because you made the motions. Is that fine, or they have to approve? Maybe I'm wrong. I will. Sandra Restall
I'm sorry. I approve.
and Dorothy Jackboni.
Approve.
I probably should have done it like that anyway, Sandra. All right, so 4.3. 4.4 is the requirement that the town manager provide a monthly public report to the town council, including residents, on the operational status of the town. Discussions of topics to be included in said report, written or oral, like that's what we should discuss here.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And so we don't have any comment on that yet, right, Dave? We're just going to discuss it and then you'll come back.
Well, I actually, so I did, I should say Stephanie did circulate a section 5.04 powers and duties of the town manager. But it's not necessarily complete. So just to bring everybody up to speed, section 5.04 of the town charter lists the powers and duties of the town manager. Those duties as they exist currently are enumerated 1 through 10. Based on the agenda language, I added a number 11, which is in the handout or in the PDF file, that simply reads, prepare and submit to the town council monthly a written report on the operational status of the town to include matters of community interest, council or manager initiatives, updates from town departments on events, activities, operations. I think really the commission here should decide what items you want included in that report. I think I've captured that you want a written report and you want it submitted monthly. So I think you can have some discussions as to what you all expect in that report, and I can edit the document as required.
Okay. By a show of hands, yes, Dorothy.
Perhaps we could put something in there where it is read during a town council meeting monthly for the taxpayers to listen, and it could be any type of operational expenses, where we stand financially, any projects that are going above expenses, things that are completed.
I have one other statement. I
Oh,
think
you're all done, Dorothy? Just real quick?
Yes.
Okay, please, Richard, go ahead.
I have another statement. It should involve a report on school progress too.
Yeah, I think that's a good
In there
idea.
about the school progress, because that's
Where
the
most
big
of our money is
expense
going.
in the town.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, is
Something on that. Some of their new programs or some programs they might be eliminating or anything like that should be listed too at the town council meeting.
that would be great.
Brought up, combined.
I'm wondering if that would have to fall under a different section, though. Would it be the town? Because we would need their financial administrator, right? Sarah would have to.
Yeah, the difficulty with, and I understand what you're getting at. The difficulty with having the town manager report on school items is that the town manager has no involvement in the school department. So we would have to put some kind of requirement under, for example, section 4, or Article 4, that dealt with the school committee. So you'd have to have the school committee required to update the, you'd really have to require the school committee to update the council, because annually, as part of the budget process, the school committee, the school department is required to communicate with the town manager. And annually, as part of the budget process, the town manager is going to be reporting those things to the town council. But the manager, him or
You can go
herself,
next, Richard.
right, doesn't really have any involvement in the schools. So I think if you want a school budget update monthly, we have to put that under the powers and duties of the school committee in section 4.07, which I'm happy to add.
Richard, please go.
Couldn't they just have the superintendent make the statement as part of his new job, as part of his job requirement?
I think we would want it to be
But
Sarah
usually the
Mandarelli's
superintendent
position.
does come to some town council meetings. He could just make the same thing that you want the manager to do, just a basic statement. Doesn't have to be how the progress of the schools are coming or how bad they're coming, either way, one way or the other. So we know way ahead of time instead of when the financial town meeting comes. Then it's kind of late.
That would make sense coming from the
Have
top.
it monthly, like that with the school committee, or the superintendent also. Because he would know more than the school committee, what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of the budget coming up on a far more regular basis. Giving townspeople the opportunity to know what's being spent, where we're falling short, where we're spending more than we expected. I think that would be, the more information we can put in front of people and the more often, I do like the idea of. Also, going with what Richard said, I like the idea of someone being there to present the report who could also answer a question. Whereas if the town manager was given the report and then asked a question, he might not know. Whereas the
Right.
superintendent or Sarah Mandarelli might.
I think that I think the appropriate way to word this would be again to amend the school committee portion of the charter to require a monthly report to the town council by the school committee, the business manager, or a designee. Most likely that would be Sandra in her capacity, but if that's what you're looking for is a report from the school committee or a report from the schools, that really should come directly from the school committee. So I can propose an amendment to section 4.7 that allows for that type of presentation monthly.
Yes, Dorothy.
Doesn't the school committee give a monthly update at town council meeting already?
I think the fire department
No,
does,
they don't.
but I don't know that the school does.
Well, I've been at meetings.
They have a
with,
general,
town council.
statement saying, oh, it's Rosie and Peachy King. They don't say exactly what the finances are. They never do at the town council meeting. It should be what the finances are and how things are running. Not just that what's getting an award, somebody's getting, okay, that's nice, yes. But you need the basic statement. That's what they don't give at the town council meetings.
All right, the budget.
Right. Was someone just going to speak? I apologize. Norma, whatever you're drinking looks like a lot of fun, by the way. Like,
Oh, wouldn't red grapefruit juice, nothing special.
You sharing that
it's in
with
a
Ed?
special cup. I apologize for going off topic. By a show of hands, did anyone else have any feedback on this?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, please.
Since David just made a statement that the town manager has no involvement in the school department, I understand that. But all of a sudden, at the very end, all of the work, the school department, I mean,
The decision
The
making.
that the school committee has done for how many months is just handed to him and it's his job to turn it in?
I think they talk about it a lot more than that. But then it is the town council, I believe, who gets to make the decision. The school gives what they would like, and the town council
But
decides.
the manager just turns it in, even though he didn't have all the stuff going on. You know, he doesn't go to the school committee meetings. That's a big, it's a big thing.
Provide feedback there.
Say it again.
I don't know if Ed could provide feedback to your question. He probably-
No, I'm not at, oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, Ed, could you weigh in on just reviewing with the commission what your involvement is regarding the budget and school department activities?
The school department turns their requested budget over to the manager. It then becomes part of the overall budget. The town manager has no say in any line items or any amounts that are in there. His only ability is to do what I did this year, which is to say we're going to cut X amount. Where it comes from, the town has absolutely no say of it. That's it's you either accept it and move that forward, accept it, move it forward, and recommend something less than they're requesting on a total basis. But that's it.
But Ed, that's
So can I ask?
Go ahead, Sandra.
Can I ask Ed a question? When the budget is turned in, did you turn in the whole thing as it was, but with your recommendation to not do that? Is that how that goes?
Yeah, they turn in the budget. They give us the numbers on the total amount that they're expecting. They do post a budget, and we do get copies of their budget. But yes, but again, the town manager can't go through their budget line by line and say, cut 50,000 from this, cut 75 from that, like we do on the municipal side. All the department heads turn their budgets into myself and the finance director, and we then go through each and every one of those. We then make cuts, determine what we feel is necessary and what can be cut. We go through it. In the school side, that ability doesn't exist. It's simply a total amount that the manager can recommend to the council, either recommend the whole amount that they're looking for or some type of number less than, but no less than the amount of money or the maintenance of effort that they received the prior year. That's the lowest we can go.
But
So
Ed, if I may, that that's part of the annual budget process.
Correct.
But what about on a monthly basis, just for informational sake? Do you get monthly reports from the school department or anything like that?
Finance does.
Okay.
And the town has an obligation to maintain and be on top of. The finance director is obligated to make sure that they are not deficit spending. So all of those financial transactions do come to him. But again, he's not interfering in it. He's simply overseeing it.
Right. I think everybody on the commission understands the school budget is a unique thing in that the vote, not even the voters at the financial town meeting can direct spending, but you can either give them X amount of dollars or you can remove X amount of dollars annually from their budget, but you can't direct line items. This often comes up in school districts with philosophical disagreements about sometimes the school resource officer or different administrative positions and that sort of thing.
Claire, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, yes.
Please do.
I agree that I really do agree that someone should be there from the school department, whether it's Sarah, the superintendent. I know that someone goes to every meeting and gives, like Richard said, the reports about what's going on and the good things, and that's great. But I do believe that Sarah or the superintendent could be there more often. I have to say, every school committee meeting has laid out everything every single month. I also saw a school committee and town council meeting where the town council laid a whole bunch of stuff out. I wish I could remember exactly if it was March or April. And I listened to the entire meeting. There was not one question from any of the town council people to the school committee. And then they were shut out of the meeting so that the town council meeting could continue. I don't understand why they weren't kept on, because there were questions that were asked that could have only been answered by the school committee. However, the school committee had been shut out of the meeting and couldn't answer those questions. So I do believe that there has been effort on the part of the school committee to keep the town council informed. And I think they've laid everything out at every meeting throughout the year. Unfortunately, if we don't get that school committee thing or what's going on in the schools at the town council, then people aren't informed, because there's a select people that go to the town council meetings who never go to a school committee meeting, and vice versa. And I know you can see that just from the questions that are asked sometimes from the school committee side and the town council side, that one doesn't know what the other one's doing.
I do
So I
find,
think it is a good idea to have something more than just the awards. I think it's great that we recognize our teachers, our staff, our school, what's going on. But I think if the school committee or a superintendent or Sarah were at these town council meetings, which puts another big burden on them. They have a lot of meetings, but it would maybe keep the townspeople better informed.
yeah, I think that has to be our biggest push, is to keep people better informed. And I don't know if there's a way of putting in a charter that our school committee and town council need to be, they need to work together better. Any meeting they've ever had together, they look like they're two sides of a chessboard. So I like I said, I don't know if there's a way of putting that in a charter, forcing that sort of relationship, but I do see a huge disconnect with what is shared behind the scenes, what's shared between the school committee to the town council, and then the end result being that, the person who put the work into making the budget isn't the person who decides what the budget is going to be, or what gets put in front of the voters, which is really a more correct way of saying it.
Right.
I will just weigh in on the on trying to put a charter provision that the school committee and town council get along and work together is like trying to mandate your two kids get along and work together.
Come on, Ed.
And you'd probably have as much success.
So because I said so isn't really going to work?
I really don't see that as a viable option, because again, if you think about the charter, is a rules of governance, and you sort of like you shouldn't have to write specific, good manners and good relationships.
Well, these need regular meetings, perhaps, or regular documents that get shared.
Those are things that can be required, and that's where I was going with an amendment to 4.07 to basically put the onus on the school committee to share financial and budgetary information at least monthly with the council.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
we all should know, since
agree
it's probably
with you.
what, 70% of the budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that that's going on now.
I do.
If you go to the school committee meetings and you listen to what's going on, there's a lot of communication between Sarah Mangiarelli and John Arnett.
Yeah, but because it might not always be Sarah Mangiarelli and John Arnett, it's
That's
good to have it in there. And I think sharing it at the committee meeting with the public is a really good idea. It just gives us more that we can put out in, because you can, that's the sort of thing you could hang up somewhere in town hall, perhaps. You could put it on a Facebook post, like, this is what was discussed, this is what, this is information we're throwing in front of you. So I like it a lot.
So do I.
Kim, are the school committee meetings on Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
a very
that was-
lengthy one on, I just watched it, as a matter of fact. It was on
Thursday, right?
Thursday night, a very lengthy one.
Okay.
So it should be on Zoom if you wanted to watch it.
I think YouTube would be where you'd
I
find
mean,
it.
YouTube, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
So I will endeavor to put that on for consideration at the next meeting. Is there any further discussion of the town manager report? I think those are two different things. I think the school
Yeah.
committee report is something different than the town manager report.
Yeah, I think working off what Dorothy said earlier, we want to know where we are in the budget each month. So the
Yep.
percentage of our budget that's been spent, the status of projects. Are we coming in over budget, under budget, on time, completed?
Okay.
Anyone else have any ideas for maybe future plans that have been discussed, things that we might want to do in the future so voters can kind of prepare for something we're interested in? Like, would that be worth spending money on for us? Ed, you have feedback?
No, I was looking at something else, but I heard you mention something about the financials. We have a monthly finance director report where we do that, where the expenditures versus the collections, and we go through department by department. That's not handled by the manager, it is handled by John in this case, or whoever the finance director will be. That was something that we hadn't had in a number of years, and we didn't enact that once we got John in there. And so we do that now.
And that includes outstanding debt, right? Like debt repayment?
Correct. Any expenditures that go out the door, that's all included in everything that we do, with the running tally, where we are in the course of the percentage of collection versus percentage of expenditures. The total amounts are listed in there, and that, like I said, that report's done on a monthly basis now.
Do you ever discuss the pension funding
Please?
status?
I couldn't hear you, Kim.
The pension for Coventry employees? Do you ever discuss that during the meetings? Like I said, where we are on funding status, what we're assuming for return on investment?
We there are pension meetings. That is all given to them a couple of times a year. We also have something in play right now that we're working on that's going to save substantial in one of the pensions that unfortunately COVID kind of put a hold on where we were. Now that we're actually being able to get back to doing work, that's going to get completed hopefully in the next couple of months. That's going to have a substantial savings across the town or on the municipal side. But
Is it
all of
going
those
to help
payments,
fund the pension budget better?
yeah. The pension, I mean, currently right now, the police pension is $5.4 million a year. That's the contribution. It actually exceeds the salary line in the budget. One of our biggest kickers in our budgets. We have a 800,000 SRP pension that the town pays for the school employees, the school non-teaching employees. That entire pension payment comes out of the town side.
Right,
That's in
because
the
they're
general.
considered municipal employees. But
Nope, they're school employees. It was somehow an agreement that was made
Oh,
a
I
number
think
of
it's true
years
in most
ago.
towns, though.
Please?
I think it's true in most towns, though. The
Uh,
school non-teaching employees in school are municipal employees.
Yeah, but but in our case, they're not. They are school department employees. They're not paid by the town, out of the municipal budget. That all comes out of the school budget. Everything but that SRP pension contribution, which is funded. It comes out of our 950, which is our general fund department. And I believe it's 800,000 this year. I can't remember the exact figure off my top of my head, but I know it was in excess of $750,000.
Is that the same fund that the town employees pay into, or is it separate?
That is well, actually, we have changed the municipal pension system. They about 5-6 years ago, we ended the defined benefit contribution, and we've moved over to a 401k style pension with all new employees on the town side, whether they're union, non-union, any of the non-police personnel in town are all in this plan now. And it's a substantial savings over what the old style So that's already, that one's done. That's the municipal defined benefit pension will actually sunset, obviously, when the last employee or former employee is no longer walking the earth. But that thing is done, and the contribution in that is about, off the top of my head, I want to say about $1 million a year goes into that one.
Do you know how well funded it is?
Uh,
This might be a conversation for another time, so I apologize.
The municipal is in excess of 40%, and that's been climbing. The police is, it was, and we just got a hit on the first quarter on the market valuation, obviously, and what's happened. We were at about 22% on that one. That one's been climbing steadily, though, since the town agreed to meet the mandatory ARC payments a number of years ago. That's actually going from an 8% funded to like 22% funded in that range, and that's been going up every year. What we're planning on doing, and Dave's been involved in, is going to change that unfunded liability greatly over the next year or two. It has an immediate effect that's going to benefit the town with a monstrous savings in ARC payments in that police. Over the next 24 years, that payment for right now is calculated to max out at like $9.3 or $9.4 million a year. And that's going to get reduced dramatically with what we're doing with that. That's going to be down. What we're paying right now will be the max they'll pay on it. But again, it's taking time to do, and we had hoped to have it done before this budget hit. COVID hit, and that just kind of messed everything up on getting it finalized and getting everything in place.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more. So thank you. But is that something that we think should be part of a regular report as well? You said they report on it a couple times a year, Ed, right now?
On the pension? Again, the pension is the pension. It's all managed by a firm out of Connecticut. We simply make agreements on what type of funding, what type of funds we're going to be moved into, what percentages. But they're well-managed funds. We use several, they do all of those. And I mean, to give it to them, and it's part of the reports that we give. Does everybody understand it all the time? I don't know. I don't know if when we start getting too far down into the weeds, sometimes it gets
that
tough.
That could be the most important part of this report is, I mean, I like to consider myself a relatively intelligent person, but sometimes John's speaking at the meetings and I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. So if there's like a Reader's Digest version of everything that gets reported where we can truly understand it as opposed to...
That's exactly why we've got the report set up the way it is now that he gives, because some days I think John doesn't understand what John's saying. I mean, I kid with him all the time. So, I mean, he just starts and he's rambling and it's like, wait a minute, slow down. I got to try and keep up with you, kid. But he does a great job, but that's why we've done it the way we've done it. We've got there's all graphs built into what we do. He's done a great job of simplifying it and yet giving all the data out there for the council to understand and the public to understand as well.
Yeah, a nice shareable document would be fantastic too.
Yep, we have that, and like I said, it's done on a monthly basis now, and it becomes it's always part of the agenda. So it's always accessible by the public. And the agenda packet, when you go online and pull it, it's all there. Something else we started a couple of years ago, putting all those documents into the agenda that were never in there. Something we felt that they should be for the public to see. And this council has agreed, and we've been doing that right along. But that report is out there. Long story short, the report's there monthly, and it's available to everybody monthly.
With that, thanks, Ed. With that explanation, what I will do is I will remove the budgetary language from the town manager report, but I'll leave in status of projects, capital projects, over, under type of things like that, because it appears that there is a monthly report from the finance director already at a council meeting.
All right. So it sounds like you're going to be coming back with new language, not including budgetary. So we won't vote on anything concerning this topic today.
Correct. I will, for the next meeting, I will have an amendment to 5.04 Number 11, to flesh out some of the things we've discussed here, I'll also have an amendment to section 4.07 of the charter to require monthly financial reporting by the school committee to the town council. And I think that covers item 4.4.
Okay. So is everyone all set with discussion on 4.4 before I move on to 4.5?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All right, 4.5, another update to section 3.15 to include opportunity for public comment before votes on agenda items and limited to 3 minutes per comment. Also include this provision for all boards and commissions, and an update to section 14.3. So
Yeah.
the
So in
public comment-
reference back to the drafts that you took a vote on a portion of earlier this morning already, section 3.15 under council procedures and section 14.30 as it pertains to boards and commissions, I added, you had previously approved the addition of requiring public comment. At Tuesday's meeting, you refined that to be required before any vote on any agenda item, and then you also indicated limited to 3 minutes per comment. So that's what I have included here. So if we take a look at 3.15, what I added was the following sentence after the existing public comment. It says, public comment shall be required before any vote on any new or old business item on the agenda and shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment. That same sentence has been added to section 14.3. Public comment shall be required before any vote on any new or old business item on the agenda and shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment.
I think it's great. Can I get a show of hands for if anyone has any feedback on this?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. Once the public gives their comment, I'll ask it this way, do you think the town council would take the time to address anything because maybe their vote was already decided in their head before, but now the public comment, would they at this time be able to discuss it anymore before they vote?
So the answer to that question is yes, except I think, to be very candid, the issue is whether they would. And here's why I say that, Sandy. So we're requiring the public has the opportunity to speak on any before any action item on any agenda. As a matter of process, the public would speak, and then you would have the council then ask for a motion, have a second, and then technically open it up for discussion if there was any discussion on the council. I think you're almost suggesting, almost mandating that the council have a discussion, and that's really too specific.
I
No,
don't
if
think
the
you
other-
can mandate it. Go ahead.
No, I
Sophie.
think after you explain, David, that they make it so that they can discuss it. That's fine. If they choose to discuss it, that's good.
Yeah, no, as a matter of any vote, just like we do here, a motion, a second, and then it's open for discussion. So you'd have
That's
the
good.
public, the public under the charter would be given the opportunity to speak on any item,
Right.
and then you would defer to the regular council voting process, which includes a motion, a second, and a discussion, followed by a vote.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Does anyone have any concerns about this change?
That's good.
Okay, so Dave, once again,
Yes.
I'm gonna have you read it before we ask for.
Absolutely, Madam Chair. The commission will entertain a vote on the following addition to section 3.15 and section 4.30. The addition reads as follows. Public comment shall be required before any vote on any new or old business item on the agenda and shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment.
All right, can I get a motion to approve these changes to these two sections?
Can I ask a question first?
Yes, please.
Did you say on any new or old business? You cut out on me.
Yes,
It does say
that,
new or old.
it is,
Okay.
I'll read it again.
Okay.
Public comment shall be required before any vote on any new or old business item on the agenda and shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment.
Thank you.
That's excellent.
Once again, can I get a motion to approve?
I approve.
I make a motion. Okay. It's fine.
How about
Second.
you approve? Michael, you seconded?
Yes.
So I'm gonna take a roll call. Norma Smith,
Yes,
I approve as well. Michael Brault,
Yes.
Richard Williams,
Yes.
Sandra Rostal,
Yes.
Claire Murray,
Yes.
Dorothy Jack Boney.
Yes.
The motion was approved unanimously. Fantastic. I really do hope that one is approved for the town council. Okay, so that's 4.5. Moving on to 4.6. Creation of a town historian position in the town charter. This one is very simple language, 14.4. Just saying there shall be a town historian who shall be appointed annually by the town council in January of each calendar year. It could be the same person, right, Dave?
So yes, it could be the same person, and I would invite the commission to, I've set it up, really just, someone asked that it be included. I set it up as an annual appointment. It could be, that person could be reappointed year after year. I don't know if the commission is interested in having like a maximum term of appointment, or what the vetting process would be. As it reads now, if this were adopted, what you'd have is the town clerk request letters of intent for the town historian position, and the council would vet the candidates and make an appointment. That's how the process would work with the existing language. If the commission wants to add any more, qualifications or anything like that, or discuss any other conditions of the town historian, this is the opportunity, I think.
All right. Does anyone have any comment on adding this section?
That's a volunteer position, right, Kim?
I was going to ask that question too. This isn't a paid position, right?
I would not be a paid position, no.
Okay.
And there's nothing here that would provide for pay.
Right.
Well,
And
that's why
Richard?
I don't think there should be a limit then.
Richard? Go
I
ahead.
think it should be a resident of the town too.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody, that should be
Can
stated.
anyone be on our boards and commissions who's not a resident of the town?
No, that's the one place in the charter that requires residency that hasn't been adjusted, let's say, or amended by state statute is it's requirements for boards and commissions. So it actually does go without saying that the town historian would have to be a resident of Coventry.
Okay.
Norma,
We presently, oh, I'm sorry.
no problem. Norma, did you have a question?
I don't have a question, but I'm the one that put that in, and my purpose in putting that in is I've talked to other town council people in other towns, and they have that, not everyone does, but some have that in their town charter, because people, it's my opinion anyway, that people in town and even people in elected positions don't always know the town history, and I think it needs to be recognized before decisions are made. I know sometimes the history isn't important and there's things you have to do, but I just think the town history is part of us, and we need to be aware of it in making decisions. When they took down the workman's house over here that had historic significance to it, but it took too long to get the plan in action. So it's just that along the way, if somebody is there to bring things out, maybe that house might not have been torn down.
Right.
20 years ago. When the project started, it was like 20 years ago, and then nothing happened. It just, so many things have changed in town without consideration of history. I know not every old building can be saved, and not everything can work around history, but it needs to be considered. That's my reason for putting this in.
And Claire, did you have something you wanted to add?
I totally lost. What I was going to say is, do we have, so obviously we don't have a historian now.
We have a Historic Preservation Commission, which just
Right.
took place not too long ago. But other
Right.
communities have a historian, which they can rely on besides a commission. So it's just an added thing that I think should be considered, because our history needs to be considered as we move forward. We can't just totally wipe out history. And we need to know our history, because that's how to me, those are life lessons we learn from history.
Should we make this person
Good point.
an automatic member of that commission?
You could do that.
So-
That it works with the Historic Preservation Commission. It could do that. Because even some people on the Historic Preservation Commission, and their interest is history, but even some of those don't necessarily know the town history, and they're learning as they're going along. But when they were doing the comprehensive plan, a lot of them didn't know the town history. I went to a few of those meetings, and I shared some of my input, and they all looked at me like, oh, we didn't know that. It just, to me, where we've been is important to where we go.
Sure, definitely.
If I may make a suggestion, two things. One, so I think that the historian should be an ex officio of the commission. And the reason I say that is, I think you want the historian to be able to operate free from the bounds of the Open Meetings Act. For example, if there's an issue that's coming up on a council agenda that the historian would be weighing in on, for example, either investment in, or let's say demolition of a potentially historic building. You'd want the historian to be able to come, make a report, do his or her analysis, and give that presentation without having to worry about needing to be part of a committee that has to meet, have a quorum, take minutes, and so forth. So my recommendation would be to keep the town historian, if they did have anything to do with the Historic Commission, have them ex officio or as an advisor. And I would further explain that in this section 14.40. The other point I wanted to make is, I think that I should add a requirement that the historian give an annual report, or give a report to the town council at least annually, but certainly before any activity, investment, renovation, demolition of any historic building or place in town is considered. That's something I think you'd want to add, based on what Norma's comments are.
I agree with that, because even at this point in time, the Preservation Commission is relatively new, but it was a district commission before. We are not informed of anything when in historic buildings at risk. Byron Reed, for example, 10 years ago, it was savable. We tried to save it with a historic society, but it didn't work because of the sewers and what the money owed and whatever, and the town would work with us at that time. So the building now is probably too far gone. But we need to also have better communication when something's at risk. We don't always know. The day they took down the workman's house, we were never told. Not that we're going to stop it, but I wanted to document it with photos. So I went up with my camera. I missed half of it, but it's just that the communication needs to be better within the town. Nobody knows what the other one's doing, and not just with historic preservation. That's just my experience with the town. Nobody knows what somebody else is doing. So if a historic building is at risk, it's better to kind of know it when it's savable rather than wait till it's not.
That's, yep.
Any more discussion on the idea of adding a town historian? It sounds like we won't vote.
I have
Oh,
a question.
go
I
ahead.
have a question.
Mhm.
This town historian, David, you said would be like an ex officio with the commission? So that
Yes.
would not-
Yes, I would call it an ex officio or an advisor to the commission. If you put the historian on the commission, now the historian can really only act
On
if the commission acts, and I think that's too constraining.
Okay, so this historian per se could belong to any historical society or whatever?
Oh,
And that would
sure.
not be a conflict? Okay,
No, not at all, no.
okay, thank you.
It sounds like though we won't be voting on anything to do with this today. Dave, you were gonna.
No, I'll have to expound on 14.40 a little bit more, and I'll have that ready for the next meeting.
Great. Okay, so it seems we have ended the formal part of our agenda. Next Saturday will be our final meeting. So my guess is it's going to be mostly approval or.
Yeah, I think ratification of what we've
Yeah,
worked on today and up to this point.
okay. Then I think I'm going to open the meeting for public comment.
Dave, if I could just add one thing on that.
Yes, sir.
The final meeting is going to be Saturday, next Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the report generated by your group needs to be in for Monday's meeting on the 20th.
That's correct.
So just,
For the
Oh,
most
I understand.
part-
Yes. So we'll probably issue the report on Wednesday. Because basically what's going to happen Saturday is ratification of decisions that have been made here in discussion, but Saturday will be the vote. So, barring any drafting errors on my part, I think what I'll have together by Wednesday, what will be ratified Saturday will be the same as what's presented Monday.
right, because I'm going to need that for Thursday to have part of in the agenda.
Absolutely. No, that's why I said I'll endeavor to get all that to you for Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So Ed, if you want to open up the phone for public comment.
I will do that. I currently have one hand up, and that is Mrs. Ann Dixon. Give me 2 seconds. I will get her into the meeting.
Don't forget to unmute yourself, Ann.
Good morning, everyone. How are you today?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Ann.
Morning.
I have a few questions. The first one is to the legal counsel. If there's
Yes,
an agenda item called Town Manager Report, based on the open meetings law, does every single item on that town manager's meeting have to be on the agenda?
Yes, how that would be handled, for example, would be the town manager's report. The agenda item would list town manager's report, and then parenthetically on the agenda would be the list of topics contained in that manager's report. So there would be a disclosure of what the town manager's report is going to entail. And thank you for bringing that up, because that is an OMA requirement. We can't just have on an agenda manager's report, especially if, as this commission is looking to do, the manager's report is going to provide a substantive update on several different topics. So the way that we would approach that is the town manager's report would be listed as an agenda item, and then in parenthesis following that listing would be all of the specific topics that would be contained in the town manager's report. Also, and perhaps finally, because the manager's report is in writing as proposed by the Charter Commission, that report would be available to the public the Thursday before the meeting, when all of the other documents for a council meeting would be made available.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring that up. I wanted the members of the commission to understand that every item has to be there. that is on his report. Now, the other thing is that during this COVID crisis, Mr. Wazika has produced very, very lengthy, very thorough reports. Some of these reports, if read, could take easily 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Is it the Charter Review Commission's expectation that the entire report would be read? Should it be on the website? Is it possible for the town council to table the reading of the report if the agenda is very long? I'm just looking for a process here.
So, go ahead, Kim.
I'm going to let you speak first, actually.
So I think, Councilor Dixon, I think the intent of the commission is that the manager provide a monthly report in writing. I think that the intent of the commission is also that that report get read to fully and fairly inform the public of what the issues are contained in that report. I suppose if there was a lengthy council meeting, for example, that the council could table that report and in doing so refer anyone to the published document, which would be publicly available.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I'm in favor of a monthly report or more often if that's necessary, but I just wanted to get these clarifying questions out on the table for understanding. Thank you. The other question I want to make, it has to do with public comment. There was a question as to whether the council members can speak. Sometimes the public gets up and starts talking, but it's on a topic that is not directly related to the agenda item. Under those circumstances, I want the members to understand that the council cannot respond to that comment because it is not on the agenda. So if any comment is made by the public, we cannot respond if it's not on the agenda because that would be considered a violation of the open meeting law. If it is on the agenda and the comment relates directly to the agenda item, the council is free to answer or not answer or respond or not respond. So I just want to put out that clarification. Any comments on that?
I think that seems fair. I think if it's not related to the topic at hand that you're about to vote on, that you're saying, you know, we can't comment on that right now, seems completely within the scope of reason. I will say if it does, I don't know how much discretion is allowed for whether or not the topic relates to the agenda item. You know, it might be something that says, relates what they're saying to the agenda item. Could you speak on it in that case?
So,
only if it's specifically on the agenda, are we able to speak? But I'd ask a legal counsel opinion.
yes, thank you, Councilor Dixon. So what Councilor Dixon is really bringing to light is one of the frustrating aspects of the Open Meetings Act. And it basically, the Open Meetings Act prevents a dialogue between people who are making public comments and the board or the public body that they are commenting before, unless their comments relate specifically to an agenda item. Because if a council member, for example, or a zoning board member engages in a back and forth soliloquy with someone who's making a public comment, it is very easily interpreted that that discussion is going beyond what is stated in the agenda. And in that case, there most likely would be an OMA violation found. So as a practical matter, when it comes to public comment, and again, this is public comment in the general sense that we're talking about here, not public comments before an action item that you voted on tonight. But when it comes to public comment, it's really an opportunity for the public to make a comment and not for the board or board members to respond to that comment. And it's a little bit tricky and it can be very frustrating, but the appropriate way to go forward with that is if a member of the public brings up something that is not on an agenda item, then at least with the amendments that this commission has proposed, those items could be added to a future agenda for discussion.
Yeah, and I would say that my main purpose, and I won't speak for the group, is that if public comment before you vote makes you as a council member rethink your decision or not feel as if they can vote on that at that time, I would like the vote to be pushed or to have a discussion amongst the council members before a vote. Like, I think the public comment that we want to have heard is so that you have heard from your constituents and get their response to the idea behind the vote before voting. And in a public forum, I think is a perfect way of doing it. I know people could reach out to you in other ways, but when you are able to hear from your constituents who may not be in your district even perhaps, if that gives you pause and makes you think, I'm not sure how I want to vote on this now, even if the item isn't directly related, but makes you give pause to the item on the agenda, that you wouldn't vote.
Okay, thank you for that comment. I'm just asking these clarifying questions.
No, that's great. We
Okay.
appreciate it.
The other question I have is, you have a motion to have public comment before any vote or discussion. When you look at a town council agenda, it's in categories. For example, it might say category D licenses, for example. And under that category, there may be 5 or 6 licenses. Now, many times we have hearings on these things, but suppose there's a category, there are 5 or 6 items on there. Is it the commission's intention that there would be public comment when we open, say, category 5 or category D, or that there would be public comment for every single item under that category?
I would say open. I don't know that everything will have the public want to comment, but if you're going to vote on something, I would say get the comment first. So pre-vote. So if you vote on all 5 agenda items at the same time, wait till the end. But if you vote per item under category D, have comment per item.
Okay, I'm just asking what the intention is of the group.
No, definitely. Clarifying is great
Okay.
for us too.
The other comment, I think you mentioned something about every board and commission. Are they required to have an annual report before the town council? I missed that. Are you asking that every board and commission provide a public report before the council?
No, I don't think so, Councilor Dixon. That was not discussed. What was discussed was requiring every board and commission to include a public comment section on its agenda.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing that I want to correct a misconception, and I've heard this at almost every meeting. When the school committee presented its budget, and when we had the budget hearing, it was commented that if they wanted to leave at that point, they could. But as voters, every single one of them had the right to stay at that meeting. If they chose to leave, it was their decision to make. Unfortunately, they left so that when other comments and questions came up, there was no one left to answer those questions. But certainly they were not told to go home. We don't tell anybody to go home. But often if someone reports out, we might say, or the president might say, you know, you're free to leave, meaning, you know, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, but feel free to stay. But it just so happened at that meeting, they all left. And so therefore there was no opportunity for us to ask any more questions of them because there was no authoritative source to answer that question. So I just want to make that, clear up that misconception that we can never tell the public to leave. Even if someone has made a report, we don't say go away. So I just want to mention that.
I would say that you might want to look at the wording of how you relayed that to the school committee members, because I will say that some very intelligent people felt that they were no longer supposed to be a part of that meeting.
I would also like to comment.
Please, Claire.
I was watching that meeting and I saw on the side, school committee member, Sarah, I also saw Sarah Mangiarelli trying to get in. to answer a question. And for some reason, she was never either allowed in, or for some reason there was a glitch so that she could not answer the questions. So I think it's agree to disagree on how that particular meeting went down. But I do remember seeing that there were committee members who were trying to get in to answer the question and address, and for whatever reason, I don't know, because I was just watching, they were not brought on or able to get on.
Thank you for that, that comment, Mrs. Murray.
All right,
You're
anything else, Ann?
No, thank you. Thank you for giving me the time to speak, to ask these questions, because I will be on the council in November, perhaps with some of you, so that will be very lovely. But I just want to make sure that I understand what the intent of these motions are, because I'll be, you know, with the group on the 20th discussing them. And some of these questions I might have brought up on the 20th. Now I'm answering or asking them now. Thank you.
No, thank you. And you're a resident, so please feel free to join us whenever. Ed, does anyone else have their hand up?
There is nobody at this time. That's it. Ann was the only one.
All right. Dave, I'd just like to ask if there's any part in that meeting that anyone on this commission should have, or if you'll be representing us on the 20th.
Actually, and I will be there, of course, but I think that the chair should be there. I'm technical staff.
Okay. No, that's fine. Sure. And it's the 20th.
And I think all of the commissioners should be welcome to attend. Certainly, if there is a question about intent, you know, that's something that any of you could weigh in on, of course.
Great.
Which meeting are you talking about now?
The town council meeting on July 20th.
Okay.
Is it at 6 o'clock?
Madam Chair, you would actually be giving the report.
That's fine. Is it at 6 o'clock?
Well, at this point, we haven't set the agenda yet, but they've been typically running at 6 o'clock.
Okay. I'll pencil it in for 6.
20th, right?
Yes.
And if any of you could be on that meeting as well, listening in, I would love to make sure that if there's a question of intent, that I am not the only person speaking to it, if people had other ideas. Okay, so public comment. Ed, you saw no more hands, you said?
There are no other hands, no.
All right, so at 10:07, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Claire, I don't know that you've gotten one in yet. So Claire seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, everyone enjoy your Saturday.
Thanks, you too.
Goodbye.
Hey.
I know.